Hi everyone, and welcome for tuning in to the December episode of the Fab Business Hub podcast series. As you know, if you've been listening to this series from August, we cover a hot topic in business each month and invite an expert to come and share their expertise. So this month is no different, even though we are 10 days away from Santa coming down that chimney. And we have the topic of conversation, which is about planning and procrastination in the business for this month. So we've invited somebody who is an expert in time management and an expert in beating that procrastination, because I, for one, know that firsthand, as she has helped me on numerous occasions. So Rachel, do you just want to introduce yourself, who you are and what Focus Guru does?
Thanks a lot, Zoe, and it's wonderful to be here. So I'm Rachael Chiverton, otherwise known as Focus Guru, and I help people with time management through dealing with overwhelm, dealing with procrastination, looking at mindset, systems, processes and procedures that can make your life easier to get the right work-life balance that you've always desired.
And she definitely does that, guys. Like I've said, we've worked with Rachael in the past. We've had a session with Rachael, and which will explain at the end, if any of this resonates with you and you struggle with time management and procrastination, definitely get in touch with Rachael. So Rachael, how did you become the Focus Guru? How did you get into this topic that everyone seems to avoid, which is time management?
Great question, Zoe. It's actually a really interesting story. So I used to write contracts for a living. The problem with contracts is because they were template bespoke to you, until you launch a new product or service, you don't need me. So repeat custom was about every 7 years.
Yeah.
And then someone approached me who's a full networking member and said, "You're always on social media. I'm a technophobe. If I sent you my content, can you do my webpage, my Facebook, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my blog, and my email campaigns?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." Another forum member approached me and said, "Your meetings run to time, they run to brand, they run to format. You can delegate. You don't get distracted by squirrels. I can't delegate and I get distracted by everything. Can you hold me accountable?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." So I worked with him for 3 months before I took on his team of 7 internationally to hold them accountable to getting things done. At which point I sat down and thought, what is it that I'm actually doing?
Yeah.
And it was going to be called a different name, and my graphic designer was doing the logo and everything like that. And I met up with him in a local pub to review the logo.
Yeah.
And a guy who is on the committee with me for a science talk that I run once a month at the local pub.
Yeah.
Sat down and said, "You can't call yourself a doctor. People will be asking you why their elbow hurts." So we sat there and went, what is it I'm doing? It's like, right, so I'm getting people to focus on where they're good. My other half got back from Manchester at this point, walked into the pub. Oh, my graphic designer then doodled my logo on a beer mat. And my other half walked into the pub from getting in from work in Manchester. He said, "What are you doing?" It's like, "We're trying to come up with a new name for what I'm doing." He went, "1 second," walked to the bar, bought himself a pint, came back to the table and said, "Well, I've just bought you Get Focused.Guru, so that's your company name. Happy Valentine's Day."
Oh.
So every year for Valentine's Day, he would use my domain name for me.
Oh, that's lovely.
So, it's one of those things where names don't have to spend ages.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, some of the best meetings, guys, happen with a beverage or two.
Oh, absolutely. But again, with him making that decision, it stopped me from procrastinating on what the company was called.
Yeah. Amazing. And he knows you better than you know yourself, don't you? That's what they say about the better half and the other half. So absolutely love that story. And I had a very similar conversation with somebody in my network not so long ago about the business name, and they asked me the question over these 3 names, which one would be best? And I said, which one is memorable to you? And they said the latter, the third one. And I said, well, that's the one I would pick. And they said, why? And I said, because you have meaning behind the name and you have something to talk about. And that's exactly, listening to that story is a conversation point. as well in your marketing, as much as anything, in terms of actually what you do, and it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Get focused. So me and Rachel met through networking, and I should say not me, myself and Rachel. Let's get me English proper. You know, I am from Barnsley, guys, as you know, listening to this podcast series. I do shorten my words, I get things back to front. So myself and Rachel met through networking, and we've built relationship. Probably, I think the first time I met you was a face-to-face meeting in Barnsley, I believe, when you came and presented for us. And the relationships grown from there. And I've seen Rachel at work with other people within the network and obviously within our business. So she really is an expert when it comes to that time management space and procrastination. So what I would like to do, Rachel, if you wouldn't mind, is for you to share some top tips on how you can beat that procrastination, and share as many as you wish for our listeners. And yeah, let's just help as many people as we can in this podcast episode, because I don't know about you guys, with it being December, I think procrastination's at a high because of that overwhelm of getting things done, and there's so much to do on that to-do list. And a lot of people have fed back to me they're in the same situation. They feel like they're literally tooth and nail. And that's really where you would think procrastination wouldn't hit, because you've got so much to do, but you'd be very much mistaken on when overwhelm hits, that sometimes is when procrastination can hit even more so. So I'll hand it over to you, Rachel. What top tips can you give our listeners to beat that overwhelm and procrastination this Christmas?
Right, the very first thing, and I know you're going to giggle at this because we've spoken about this a lot.
Yep.
When you have a list, do not call it a to-do list. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because if you call it a to-do list, your eyes and your subconscious focus on everything you haven't done. Mm-hmm. And you start off with feeling very overwhelmed, thinking, crumbs, there's a lot on this list. I'm going to add more to it, and I'm never going to get it done.
Yeah.
So you start yourself off in a negative mindset. Mm-hmm. Reframe it and call it an achievement list. Your eyes and your subconscious focuses on everything you have achieved. So every time you look at that, you get a little hit of dopamine and you think, wow, I've done a lot. What more can I get done today? Mm-hmm. So you start off with a feeling of motivation.
Yeah.
That's the very, very first thing. The second thing is to acknowledge when you're procrastinating. Mm-hmm. We all do it.
Yeah.
Heck, I do it.
Yeah.
I know I do it. But I recognize that I'm doing it. And then there's multiple things you can try. The very first thing I would say is change your environment, change your activity. Mm-hmm. For me, when I'm procrastinating, especially if I'm in the office, the first thing I will do is get up, make a brew, and whilst the kettle's boiling, go outside and listen to the birds and listen to the wind whilst it's boiling. Because what you're doing then is you're allowing your subconscious to process whatever it is you're procrastinating on. Mm-hmm. So that when you go back in, your subconscious has a plan of how it's going to deal with whatever you're procrastinating about.
Yeah.
The next thing is be aware of where your time is going. Mm-hmm. It is so easy to go onto social media to, say, post this podcast, mm-hmm. and end up going, oh, I've got 6 messages. Oh, I've got 35 notifications. Oh, what have they been doing this week? Oh, mm-hmm. Oh, look, Zoe's done an update. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, there's a picture of Leo. And we end up scrolling. Mm-hmm. And then we go to post it, say, on LinkedIn or on YouTube, and we do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So one really good tip is to make sure you track your time.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is every 15 minutes, I do have a free 15-minute tracker, guys, if you want it. Mm-hmm. Physically write down what you've been doing for the last 15 minutes. And the reason you physically write it with a pen or pencil on paper, mm-hmm. is because if you think it and you type it, it doesn't go in as deeply as if you think it, you see it, and you have the movement of writing it, because that actually goes into your subconscious more. So you are then becoming more aware of how you're spending your time.
Yeah.
So track your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that consistently for about 3 days, most people can save about 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
If your procrastination is caused by overwhelm, break things down. We are so good at putting an achievement on our achievement board that says, write new web page.
Yeah.
But what's involved in writing a web page?
Yeah.
You've got the content, you've got the picture, you've got the video, you've got the headers, you've got the footers, you've got the backlinks, you've got the contact info.
Yep.
So already I've made that into 7 tasks.
Yeah.
Instead of 1.
Yeah.
And those 7 are easier to achieve than the one big one.
Yeah.
And the more tasks you achieve, the more you want to achieve more, the less you'll procrastinate.
Yeah.
So have a think about why you're not getting a task done. And is it because it's too big?
Yeah.
The other beautiful thing that prevents procrastination and overwhelm, we all have these devices.
Yeah.
All of our devices have something called aeroplane mode.
Yeah.
Yet most people only use aeroplane mode when you're on an aeroplane.
Yeah.
If you put your phone on silent, then if a notification comes through, you can still see the flash.
Yeah.
If you get a phone call, it might still vibrate. Every time you see one of those notifications, you lose 20 minutes of concentration, because that's how long it takes you to get back to where you were before you had the interruption.
Yeah.
Plus, if you put it on silent, if someone rings you, it rings and rings and rings and rings before it goes through to voicemail.
Yeah.
And so they start off feeling annoyed and peed off that you haven't answered the phone to them.
Yeah.
If you put it on airplane mode, it goes straight through to voicemail, and they immediately think, oh, she's on the phone, she'll ring me back when she's free.
Yeah.
So when you come to return that phone call, they are in a positive mindset to receive your call.
Yeah.
And by aeroplane mode, when you turn aeroplane mode off, there is anywhere from 15 seconds to a minute before your phone picks up the signal and starts telling you you've missed anything.
Yeah.
Which again allows your subconscious just that little bit of time to go, right, celebrate that I've done that now.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
And by you dictating when you look at notifications, when you look at emails, when you make calls, when you receive calls, your time management drastically improves.
Yeah.
I only look at my emails twice a day. I have set times to look at my notifications. And I have no notifications on my phone. In an evening, when I've switched off from work, I remove all my social media icons from my phone desktop. Because that way, if I want to go and check them, I have to physically go in and click to open the Play Store, search for it, open it up to see if anyone's notified me of anything. Now, that's an awful lot of steps. If you just leave the icon on your front phone desktop thing, can't think what you call it. Screen, that's the word. Thank you, Zoe. It's very easy to sit there and just say, press the Facebook icon to see if you've got a notification or a message. But do we actually need to be looking at those when we're sat with family or friends? And supposed to be enjoying quality time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a tip someone showed me in the leadership management course in terms of best use of my time. And they said actually being productive and being valued, and you actually listening to one another. And so I got to a point where I deleted all my apps, and it does work, guys. I mean, I don't do it now, I'm not going to lie. And if anyone's listened to this podcast and heard a vibrate, they know that my phone's not on airplane mode. So even I'm learning from this, because it does distract you. I can see my phone ringing. So it definitely is with what you're saying. It's actually happening right now. And it's a lot we can learn from it, definitely.
The way I describe it to my clients, the way I change their mindset about this is, if you were in a client one-to-one and they paid for your time, would you be checking your emails? Would you be checking your notifications? And would you be taking phone calls?
No.
So why do you do it when you set aside time for you that is just as important to move your business forward, or to create that relationship with your partner, your children, your pets, whatever it is?
Yeah.
And going slightly off topic, there is one more thing that I absolutely have to mention. Is that all right, Zoe?
That's fine.
Totally off topic. Guys, all of you have the same highest income generating, longest serving client. And that client is myself. Because if you don't put myself first, you can't look after your business, you can't look after your clients, and you can't look after your family.
Yeah.
So always schedule myself time first. Please learn to do that.
Yeah, 100%. I had a strategy session this morning. The listeners know that I offer strategy, and we had this exact same conversation, and they asked me in terms of, that's really a good point that you've mentioned, but I actually learned that point from you. I remember it being one of the first things that you said to me in a one-to-one in Barnsley when we was networking together. And it's, when you think about it and listen back to that statement, you think, yeah, that's really simple. Yeah, of course I should look after myself first, but we don't.
No.
So 100%, that is vital when we're looking at time management, when we're looking at planning in business this month, and we're looking at making the best of us time and breaking down that procrastination, because we are our best client, 100%. So yeah, I'm really happy that you've mentioned that, because it's vital and it's super important for us business to be successful.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, there's many things you can do that don't cost much money that can help you do that.
Yeah.
But when I do time blocking, my clients on time blocking, and I use time blocking, the first things that go into my weekly schedule are my morning routine, my dog walks, my lunch, my family, friend and husband time.
Yeah.
And then every day there is free time, because you will not have a day when you don't get distracted or something runs over. But what most people do is don't put any free time in, so you've got nowhere to move things to.
Yeah.
So then you feel overwhelmed, you get procrastination because you think, I can't do it. Whereas if you always give yourself free time, you've always got somewhere to move something to.
Yeah.
Within your work hours.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Amazing, Rachel, as always, sharing them top tips. And guys, they do work. So with anything within the hub, it's something that we say at the end of every podcast episode. What you have learned today and what you have listened to is something that you can take and implement into your business right now. We can't move forward without implementation. So with what Rachel has shared to help you with that procrastination, and guys, use it for personal as well. It's a very busy time personally and business-wise in the next 10 days. So use these top tips to help yourself and just get to where you want to be, whatever that point in terms of when you're breaking up for Christmas. So you know that when you come back, you're hitting the ground on the right foot, and you don't have that stress over Christmas wondering what's at my desk when I get back, because of effective time management and procrastination. So definitely apply what Rachael has shared with us today. And thanks again, Rachel. If you want to share your details and how people can get in touch, please do, because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that do struggle with procrastination. I just think it becomes part of business, doesn't it? So how would they get in touch if they're thinking, after listening to this or watching this via the hub, yes, that is me, I need Rachel's support?
So if this has resonated with anybody, if they head to getfocused.guru, there is a link there to book a free 15-minute call with me. And I'm passionate about helping anybody. So if this does resonate, please just book in a free 15-minute call.
Definitely do, guys. And you can see, if you're watching this back via Zoom, you can see that on the video recording behind Rachel. If not, just to remind you, it is getfocused.guru and book in that free 15-minute review. Trust me, you won't regret it. So thank you for listening. Next month is all about websites and SEO, and we'll be kicking off January with a bang, and we will announce our speakers very, very shortly. So keep an eye out for our newsletters and our announcements via our social media pages and website. And thank you for listening, and thank you for your time again, Rachel.
Thank you for the invite again, Zoe. And I really hope I've managed to help some of your listeners and viewers.
Definitely. Thanks, guys. See you next month.